Now I would like to invite Irini Papadimitriou to the stage, currently the director of exhibitions at Diriyah Art Futures in Saudi Arabia. Before, Irini, between 2018 and 2024, served as the creative director at Future Everything in Manchester and was the artistic director for the Sea Art Festival 2023 with the Busan Biennale in South Korea, and also digital programs manager at Victoria and Albert Museum and head of new media arts development at Watermans. And yeah, Irini is a very important person for this field of art, technology, society, tendency. So Irini, I invite you to stage.
Thank you, Bartek. Thanks. Thank you. It's great to be here, and huge thanks to Signal, Martin, and of course Lucia for inviting me to be part of this program together. So can I do this? Okay, great. So as Bartek very kindly in his introduction mentioned, I've been working with art and technology for quite a long time now. One thing that I have been, actually many things that I've been interested in, first of all starting from the impact that technology has in our lives, in society, in how we view the world, and I'll go back to that in a while, but also what it means for curators and artists and cultural workers to be part of cultural institutions, which in the end are kind of part of these kind of, institutional structures like colonial systems that, especially in the West that we know of. So, so one thing that I've been kind of interested in, as I said before, is how art and artistic experiences can be a vehicle, but also shape the way that we view and experience the world. And one important question for me throughout these years of working with technology has been if we use technology for shaping our experiences, but also our interactions with the world and ourselves and so on. What does that mean? What kind of worlds do we need, do we want to create? And a lot of the work that I've been doing has been kind of moving in and out from, the white cube, gallery walls, like in this case that you see here, that was from the Sea Art Festival with Busan Biennale in Busan, South Korea last year, which was very much exploring how we can, work with communities. In that case, was with coastal community in Busan, in Ilgwang, like a traditional fishing village, seaweed kind of producing and growing and so on. What does that mean to kind of what is how these communities are in the forefront of climate change, but also in terms of what is the art of role there? What can art do? And what does that mean for somebody coming from this background? So this was very much about seeing things and using art to kind of, enabling us to train ourselves to see things differently, to experience things differently. And it was very much about, our kind of current relationship with the planet, with ourselves, with other people, with technology as well, which is about extractivism, actually. Something that, a word that I have been using for a very long time in terms of can we move from these extractivist relationships that we have with each other, but with the world as well. And also, this was from an exhibition that I curated in Athens with Onassis Stegi, Onassis Foundation, and it was just to go back to what we were talking about, what Bartek introduced, talking about AI, which of course has focused very much in my curatorial practice the past few years as research, but also interrogation. Is exploring, like, if again, going back to the question of having, access to emerging to technologies like artificial intelligence and so on, machine learning. Does that mean that does that change the way that we interact with the environment, that we view the other species, but also what the word of the term intelligence means as well? So this is this rhinoceros, or like the kind of a depiction, or like a reimagination of a rhinoceros, is called Sudan, and was the last white northern rhino the last male northern white rhino on the planet, which went extinct in March 2018, and it's the work of Alexandra Daisy Ginsberg, who's an artist that I have been following for a long time, and I had the pleasure to work with her in Athens for this installation and take it outside of the traditional kind of gallery setting. And Daisy, in this work, she reminds us, first of all, our obsession and with technology, but also the kind of contradiction of creating technologies to recreate species that we drive to extinction ourselves. And also what she does in this work. So this rhino was recreated using artificial intelligence, but as you see, it is enclosed in this kind of virtual white kind of space. Does that mean that this rhino that doesn't exist in the real world on the planet, does it mean that it's real now that it's brought to kind of life virtually? But also another thing that Daisy's work kind of brings up to and reminds me as well is the question of not actually a question, but actually one thing that we forget when it comes to technology, thinking of it as separate from our human bodies, but also from nature. Like, for me, technology is an earthly material. It's very much a part of ourselves as humans, but also the environment. Some of the recent kind of exhibitions that I've done exploring artificial intelligence is kind of thinking, and I know Michaela mentioned some of these ideas of like mapping, and of course Quayola talked about surveillance as well. So one thing that I've been interested in is how these technologies are kind of exploring and bringing up like our human like insecurities, but also fallibility, but also going to extremes and what we use them for. And self-surveillance is one thing. These are both works by British artist Knight Thompson, and on the top one, Backdoor, is an ongoing work, and it's basically images that have been generated by machines without us, without humans being aware. These are usually images captured. Are images captured by surveillance cameras that actually are unsecured. And they are online usually, and so they are analyzed and described by bots. So it's a whole collection of images that she has. And the bottom work, Insule, is actually, she's going back to this idea of like, mapping technologies and surveillance, but also borders. And this is like a work that she created using Google, satellite imaging. And it's actually, it's a tour around the British Isles, waters, and it's kind of, put you as an audience member. It puts you to the position of a voyeur, but also somebody who's watching over, like these borders. But also, she reminds us that very much all these maps, which is something that has been happening even before the technologies that we use today. It's been happening historically as well. That reminds us that how all of these things that we see and that we do are constructions of how we think, basically, and it's about power relationships, obviously. And so this idea of just going back to like technologies and machines and the idea like how we see and perceive things was something that we explored also in a recent exhibition with the Science Gallery in London called AI Who's Looking After Me, and I'm going to talk about that later as well. And this is one of the works that were commissioned for the exhibition. And it's actually exploring this idea of essence, like when you try to interact with like machine learning and how does like a machine interprets essence of a human? And of course, as we see very clearly here, these are like very biased images of humans. And like very particular kind of, geographies in terms of like, where humans are coming from. And this is something that, I've been interested in for a very long time. These are some works from back 2012 at the V&A, where I was curating and I started the Digital Design Weekend and a festival exploring like artistic practices, but also like processes as well, but also our relationship with technology and machines. And again, going back to this idea of fallibility and error, something that Quagliola was talking about in his work, these are like some presentations that we did back then. One was with Patrick Tressett, where in his work he uses these creates these very theatrical installations of and collaborates with these, but also actually he's releasing in a way these robotic agents that act in a way as artists, like who paint people walking into a space. But actually, what he has been exploring in his work is like the idea of humanness as well, and have become studies of humans. I think I'm not. I go back? And just going back to this, question of how, what is the role of art? Like how art enables us to see differently. And again, this is a work by Memo Akten, who I had the pleasure to work with for this outdoor exhibition in Athens, You and AI, through the algorithmic lens. And again, I just wanted to kind of to bring here some of his quotes, thinking of course, as Quagliola was saying before, like machines do not kind of, we can't reproduce the work as we see it. Like machines cannot do that. But actually, it makes me think about how we see the world as well, which is again very different from what it is, in somebody else's reality. So in a way, we are kind of, very similar to how, like, a machine would see the work and it's the world. And because we see, as Memo says there, we see things not as they are, like for other people, but as we are ourselves. And it's the question then is how we use technology, and this is where my interest in artistic practices has come, in terms of like the power of like using technologies for different ways to maybe surveillance, or maybe the the hyped ways that corporate companies have kind of developed, or like how technologies have been produced as like objects, or like financialized objects. And this work here is an ongoing project by Jake Elwes, who is based in the UK as well. It's called ZZ Querying the Dataset, and it's actually very much like a study on the lack of representation of and lack of diversity when it comes to training data sets. And what Jake has been doing is to using like queer faces and gender fluid faces found online, but also things that data sets that he creates himself as well, to bring them into like machine learning training data sets. And this is something that, you know, this is kind of, apart from being a work on like celebrating difference, it's something that, you know, Jake is looking at how art can like shape technology itself and like maybe enable us to see things that are not there, that are not missing when it comes to things that we take for granted. Similarly, like the last few years, I had the great fortune to be working internationally, and currently I'm based in the Middle East. But actually, I've been very interested in the work of artists that, you know, like they kind of explore these ideas from a different non-Western perspective, and how artists kind of, you know, can again, like move away from technology's tendency to reproduce our way of seeing the world, like our stereotypes, our bias. So Morexin Alahiari is an Iranian-American artist, and this is a work that she created like a few years back called Moon-Faced, and basically it's exploring colonialism, but also the influence of European influences in like Persian culture in this case. So moon-faced is an adjective that was used in Persian culture to describe both male and female, faces, in particular in paintings, in Qajar dynasty paintings from late 1700s until the early 1900s. But this, obviously, this disappeared, and then this kind of moved to female only, like beauty as an adjective, with European influence, especially photography as well. So what Morexin is doing here is she selects data from that period, and this kind of cultural period actually, and artworks, to train the machine to paint again like gender fluid faces, but also to activate actually critical reflections, and also to kind of process histories that are totally lost now in terms of the Arab world, because of course due to influences, this total history of like gender fluid kind of portraits is not present anymore, and it's in opposition to what kind of, you know, current like technological colonialism is kind of bringing again. Similarly, with Antarixa Studios, who are based in India, like this is a piece called Elsewhere in India, which is a video game experience and a live performance. It shows like a completely different image to what we might think about India and futurism in a way. So Antarixa Studio, they are bringing in, like, they are creating cyborgs, like, but also heritage kind of symbols from South Asian culture, and it kind of shows us like a time where humans, machines, but also history and heritage can kind of coexist for like creating different narratives from what we know. I know I don't have much time left, but this is an image, like an illustration from early 1900s, and it's from Albert Robida, was active in Paris, if I remember well, in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And I just wanted to bring this image because it's, of course, it's like a depiction of like future. He's calling that as the year 2000, like for people living the opera in Paris. And it's a very kind of course, a romanticized version of and depiction and imagination of technology. But what I'm interested in, and of course thinking about like utopias, is something that, you know, it hasn't changed very much in how we think about technologies even today. So what I've put together here is like some pictures from you know, ancient Greece. That's from at the far end. It's from the 3rd century BC, and it's it's like the depiction of the imagination of an automaton, and it's about, of course, it's like the automaton or like this, anthropomorphic kind of servant. It's a servant. So its technology is like a humanoid, but imagined as a servant. And this is very much like built into our technologies today and robots today. Matteo Pasquinelli has. I don't know if you have come across his really recommended and brilliant book, The Eye of the Master. He's talking very much about this idea of like technology, and in particular artificial intelligence, as the continuation today of this process of dispossession of knowledge from labor. So nothing has changed. But also it's what like Mary Gray and Siddharth Suri, the authors of Ghost Work, are telling us in terms of like automation that there is a paradox about automation, because of course it creates starting from the desire to eliminate human labor, it creates more tasks for humans. But actually what automation and like machine in a way, like machinery does in a way, or how we imagine it, or like how we are creating it, is to render invisible the human labor and move it to the back, which is very much what the second image here from like these high street burger or like fast food chains are doing. So eliminating human labor. And so this, as I said before, this was very much one of the questions, thinking about ethics and care when it comes to technology and artificial intelligence was the subject of our exhibition, which I co-curated with the Science Gallery in London and Future Everything last year. AI Who's Looking After Me was kind of very much looking about how do we build transparent and care, like transparent systems when it comes to AI, but also thinking about care. And this was some of the photos of projects that we presented and also commissioned, which was thinking about artificial intelligence in healthcare, but also, thinking about like Sarah Selby's on the other hand, on the other side, like artificial intelligence and how it creates new digital bureaucracies and control and like not just monitor but also classification for humans, and that was about border control. So I know I ran out of time, so I'm just going to close here with this quote by James Bridle in Ways of Being. And this is something that I've been kind of exploring in my curatorial practice, but also in kind of trying to bring out two conversations, if we can start conversations about technologies, about the impact of AI in our lives and in our society, and how art is actually enabling new narratives and new relationships, thinking of not as like machine or technology or human or versus human, but thinking of machine and technology and AI as like collaborating or like part of human and nature, and how these could lead us to different visions and futures. Thank you.